Hello there, and welcome to the Swinging Bunt Podcast. Today we have myself, James Martin, and Mitch Allen to start off the show. CJ Jones and Wes Wagner will be joining us shortly, but we got things to do. We're busy people. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we're going to be recapping the wild card round of the NFL, which had some ups, had some downs. And then we'll dive into our predictions of the divisional round shortly after that. And then we'll talk about some of our end of the season or heading into next season topics of discussion. I'm really looking forward to that part of the show, as well as some NBA talk later on when Wes and CJ join us. That being said, this is the Swinging Bunt Podcast. Enjoy the show. All right. So we had, how many games were there? Six?
Yes,
five?
That's correct. Six.
Yeah, 6 games. We had 6 games this past weekend with varying results. Some that were pretty easy to predict, some not so much. But I feel like nothing was too mind-blowing this previous week. My overall impressions of our 14-team playoffs in the NFL, not overly impressed. I didn't really feel that the 7 teams that we had in here were very deserving of a playoff spot. Maybe it would have been more so had the Raiders and Chargers tied, and then the Steelers wouldn't have been in here. But it definitely left some games up there that I was just like, why are these teams playing? The one thing I thought it did for me is that 2 seed, which is like arguably one of the best teams in football usually, having to play against one of the worst teams in the playoffs just didn't make a whole lot of interesting game. And I'm sure years down the road, we're going to see some more interesting games than that. But the Chiefs versus the Raiders, I'm sorry, I apologize. Chiefs versus the Steelers, as well as Tampa and Philadelphia, it just didn't seem like a useful game that needed to be played, in my opinion. So hopefully we'll get 7 better teams in the playoffs next year. But so far, I was not impressed by that format. You guys, thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm always going to enjoy watching another football game, so I'm not mad about it. It does diminish 100%, that number 2 seed. It's like, why do I even need to play? Which is the biggest stinker, I think, that they played so well. And like stinking Green Bay and the Rams were tied, but or Tampa Bay were tied, but Tampa Bay still had to play, even though they were just right there.
Yeah, I mean, they're just risking injury for another week in a game that really had no shot of the Eagles to win. I mean, I think going into this game, there's a few people even picked the Eagles as a underdog here, but just the talent on both teams, there was not really a chance. And same thing with the Chiefs Steelers game. I mean, that was one of the most embarrassing playoff games I've ever seen.
Yeah,
there were several embarrassing games this week.
I'd agree. I definitely feel like those 2 teams just really stood out as not belonging there.
Yeah. I mean, and that being said, I think the Chargers were the better team than the Steelers. So it's not like there weren't 7 teams that could have been a viable team in there. But just the fact that the Steelers were able to get in, because when you have 7 teams, it opens up, you don't have to have a great record to get in. So a good team who loses some games they shouldn't, like the Chargers, and a bad team like the Steelers who won some games they probably shouldn't, they're going to be near equal. And I just don't really know that I like the possibility of adding in another bad team. It's the same reason I don't like NBA's final setup. You mean half the league gets in? Half the league? Are you telling me half the league has a chance at winning the championship? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think. It's like, I mean, I love the Chargers. Obviously, I think they're a really good team, but I mean, they lost. I mean, you start putting teams in there because they have a record above 500. So they're a player. It's like, no, I don't know. I feel like you really need to work hard to get that spot. And this year it's like, I don't think the Steelers worked overly hard. I don't think the Eagles worked overly hard to like grind to get in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, that's the con to it. There is a pro. I mean,
just that.
No one else can see that except for us. It doesn't show up on the recording.
Now they know, though.
Coming up on that last week of the season, there were a lot more games that had value. Yeah. I don't know the exact number than we usually would have because there's teams that weren't eliminated yet. If there were only 6 teams, then a lot of those teams wouldn't have had a chance to play in that were still playing. So it did make that week 18 a little more interesting. So I won't pretend that was true. But let's go ahead and let's dig into the games a little bit. So Vegas, Cincinnati, I felt like to me, the Bengals were my favorite to win that game, but I did think the Raiders would give them run for the money, which they did. But the Bengals
This is
just were
honestly
better.
probably the best game, believe it or not.
Yeah,
And
more
it
or
was
less.
not super great.
Yeah, I don't think you can really argue that. So this was maybe one of the worst wild card rounds really that I've seen. Cincinnati pulls ahead to win 26-19. But Joe Burrow looks like the real deal. I mean, I think he's going to be up on the level of elite here within a year or two, if he's not already. The guy is just playing lights out.
I think he's doing basically what Mahomes did. Like, he had a good season, and then he just skyrockets after that.
So I'm excited to see what happens with them, especially as they start to get a better offensive line and defense.
I have not, like watched football forever, but like even I like know the Bengals like sucked not that long ago.
Yeah.
I mean, they were horrible. And
I mean, they had some decent teams, but they just always lost in the first round. If and when
they are
they never won with Dalton. Never.
No. Yeah. They look, I think they'll be a really fun team to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I love the state that the NFL is in right now. When you have guys like Mahomes, Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, it looks like we're going to have, and Justin Herbert. Thank you. It looks like we're going to have Dak Prescott, even top tier quarterbacks playing the game
Matt
for
Ryan.
a long time.
Yeah. Tom Brady, all these young guys, Tom Brady, going to play for another 10 years.
Probably.
Wow. You look great, babe. The wife just dyed her hair brown. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract everybody.
Let's see it.
All right. So yeah, I think that was exciting. And if anything I'd take away from this game is that whether the Bengals win this week or not, they're a team that's going to be in the playoffs a lot for years to come. So, I mean, I'd probably pick them early divisional champs for me right now next year. I think they'd win again.
Oh yeah. I'd agree with you.
So let me
They're losing this week.
Yeah, I don't know what they'll do this week.
I'm just saying because they're playing.
We'll get
Placing some bets already.
So New England at Buffalo. Buffalo broke a record
Wowzers.
scoring on all 7 of their drives. They scored a touchdown, with exception to the last one where the clock ran out, but I don't really count that. I mean, it was just a bludgeoning. The Bills were a better team. There's no getting around that. They're just far better quarterback, more experienced quarterback, more weapons on offense, just weapons on offense. And the defense was the number 1 defense on the year. And when Matt Judon went down a few weeks ago, the Patriots defense just wasn't really the same without his pressure on the quarterback. So they just showed that they're a Super Bowl contender. I don't think there's really any way to get around it. The Bills could easily have a shot at winning the Super Bowl this year. I actually probably favor them over the Chiefs if they both get to the AFC Championship.
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of tired of hearing some people talk about, and not you guys, just talk about like how good the Patriots really were and they were a real sleeper pick. I think if anything, this is like a really good experience for Mac Jones. I mean, as a rookie to make it into the playoffs right away and have that game, I think that's awesome for them moving forward.
Yeah.
But I like something, the Patriots were leading the AFC East for a little bit of this year, and people are like, oh, the Patriots are still good and they're really dominating. And I was just happy. It's like, okay, the Bills is just like, yes, we are the better team.
Yeah.
You did beat us to that one game that sucked, but we have the experience right now. But I do think that was great for Mac Jones. Obviously, Bill Belichick's been in those situations hundreds of times. Well, loads of times, but really good for Mac Jones moving forward, I think.
Yeah, I don't really think that Patriots fans, myself included, should be too upset about this outcome. I think honestly, just look at what we had last year with Cam Newton. We brought in some pieces, yes, but no stars. I mean, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. We went through them last week with Aguilar and Bourne as well, and Matt Judon. Those are good players, good complementary players. But to win in the NFL, you just have to have stars and studs, and they don't have that right now. And I think that's pretty evident. So hopefully in the offseason, they'll provide some more for Mac Jones to be able to go to, just because they don't have separators and that guy that can change a game right now, including Mac Jones himself. So I think that if they can do this well with the pieces they had, then their future's looking good as well.
I do think they're like, honestly, 2 pieces away from being like,
oh yeah,
a divisional round team. I mean, I think they need receivers, obviously.
Yeah.
Maybe another defensive piece because you've got a good defense, but I think it could be a little
but
better.
The thing is with those linebackers is they're so old and slow that they just can't keep up with the style of players that we're going against. Our corners, JC Jackson, Jalen Mills, other guys as well that we have on defense are solid, but JC Jackson's going to be a free agent this year, and I don't think he'll stay.
Speaking of, that Stephon Gilmore trade is looking like big buckets for y'all.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you got for
it. Always
good.
Seems like Bill knows when to let go of people. So yeah, I mean, the Bills, I think they're going to be a hard out rest of the playoffs. Philadelphia, Tampa Bay. Brady was Tom Brady. and Jalen Hurts was Jalen Hurts. I mean, I don't
Yep.
know much more to say than that. I mean, 31-15, you can tell who the better team is. The reigning Super Bowl champs look like they're going to be trying to make another run. They should be a really difficult game, and I foresee it happening in Lambeau in a couple weeks.
I don't know. That next week matchup is
Never know.
UC.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco, Packer, and Green Bay. San Francisco has had their number.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Oh, you mean the Buccaneers matchup against?
I did.
Oh, I'm
Against
sorry.
the Rams.
Against the Rams, yeah. I mean, they could lose that game as well. Any
Pretty much
notes?
wide open.
Keyshawn Vaughn looked solid. Who everyone I think kind of just said forget about that guy, but no.
Mitch was in love with him at one time.
I was but the thing was like, I mean, I was like kind of hot on him as a rookie because I was just getting into dynasty fantasy football. I was like, oh, rookie running back. Oh,
Everyone was.
And the thing is, like with rookies with Bruce Arians, like they just, I mean, that's kind of his coaching style. They're not going to do a whole lot. And honestly, at the end of his second year in the league, finally having a breakout game, really, it's great for him moving forward.
Actually,
is this his third year already?
Third year.
No, it's the end of his second year.
Okay,
Let's
you
find
could
out.
be right. You could be
Yeah,
right.
keep talking.
I believe so. And so finally getting that breakout game, and Bruce Arians even said, he's like, dude's got a lot of talent. He's a really good running back. So it's a promising game for a Bucs team next year that has a lot of guys that are not getting any younger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that they got a good shot.
I know I got one friend in particular who is not a Jalen Hurts fan. And I do think it's interesting.
Everyone here knows Toby. Toby's been on the show.
Toby hates Jalen Hurts. I do think it's interesting how he's definitely one of those players that translates really well to fantasy and is a really great fantasy QB. But in real life, I'm just not sure that he's quite what people think he is. I'm not saying he can't be that, but I think it just definitely showed. Again, he's a young quarterback in a situation he's never been in, going up against one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the NFL right now. So
I think
Eagles fans, don't beat yourself up, and it doesn't sound like you guys are.
I don't think there's any way that that Jalen Hurts can develop into this player. But to be the devil's advocate, I don't see Jalen Hurts, let me be clear, as a top elite player. But after this is really his first attempt at starting in the NFL. I mean, I know he ended the season last year starting, but Josh Allen looked like a wash his rookie season. I mean, he could not hit receivers that were wide open, and he was able to develop his arm accuracy. And now look at who he is now. I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be that kind of guy, but if he can work on getting his accuracy fixed, which quarterbacks can do, then he could be a much better QB. He just would need a really good offseason this year. And then I would probably give him one more shot as the Eagles. If he can't get it together next year, I'd probably move on. San Francisco at Dallas. San Francisco tried to lose this game, but the refs would not let them.
I think Dallas, I mean, I don't know. I think this was honestly the best game of the week. I thought it was the closest matchup.
It was
I
better
honestly
at
thought
the
every
end.
other
It was better at the end of the game.
It was.
It
was closer than it was closer than it needed to be, from a San Francisco Niners standpoint. But this was the game on paper that was for me was just I don't really know who's going to win this game. I'm going to say
agreed.
Because I'm a Niners fan. I none of the other outcomes really surprised me. San Francisco was the only road team to win this weekend. So
this is the only game I got wrong in my picks. I picked Cowboys to win this game.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. But I wouldn't say it. Just Dallas just committed so many penalties.
Yeah,
I mean they didn't want to win the game, and then at the end of the game, the Niners are like, "Well, do we want to win?
Sure, have the ball."
Yeah, it was
We
rough.
haven't decided.
I mean, I think you're going to see that the Niners. It's been a while since they've been there, and if there's anything I learned about coaching, it's that some teams know how to close out a game when they have a lead, and some teams just don't know how to play when they're up. And I think that kind of was a sign of the Niners right now, is they didn't realize how to keep their foot on the pedal, and the Cowboys were able to climb back in. And if it weren't for a really bad play call by the Cowboys to run the ball there at the end, and then
I don't think it was a bad call. I think Dak held it too long.
He probably got down 5 yards sooner.
Yes.
They spike it, and honestly, I think the Niners lose that game.
And they still would have had to throw a touchdown on the last play of the game. So
I would have bet on the Cowboys there.
So, I mean, we can't say the refs blew it for them, but I've definitely seen some conspiracy TikToks saying some things like, hey, look at this ref. The same ref that held the ball in that last play also had
doing his job.
Yeah, but he also had forced pretty much a delay of game on the Cowboys. He stood over the ball with his hands out, and Dak's like, I got to snap it. You can hear the ref say, just relax. And then by the time he finally steps off the ball, literally as he's stepping away from the ball, they call delay of game. It's
But
like,
the rule is,
I know you
if
get
you
10
make a
seconds.
sub,
I know.
if you make a sub, you got to give the other team. It doesn't matter if it's a delay game or not.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of, I mean, I don't know. I think if the NFL was rigged, the Chargers and Raiders game would have ended in a tie. That's
I
proof
don't
enough
think-
for me.
Well, that's
I
because
don't
the coach
think-
is an idiot, though.
There's some conspiracy out there by the big NFL, but I definitely know people aren't perfect. And if a certain ref
I hate that little NFL.
if a certain ref is trying, maybe perhaps has a bet on the line or something, you never know.
Don't
what
talk
he may
about that.
I don't know. I think, I don't know.
I mean, the
That's-
Cowboys had no
that's-
business
that's-
winning that game anyways. So
I feel like
Not
that's
bad,
kind
they
of a
played.
weird. Yeah. Anyway,
Hey,
Niners won the
moving
game.
on.
all right, next game. I mean,
We don't need to mention anything about this game.
It started off with a fumble on a dumb gimmick play, which I don't understand. Old Carl Jones, how's it going, buddy? I don't really understand why the Chiefs feel they have to have the most trick plays in the NFL when they have the most dominant passing offense in the NFL. But here we are. And they try a gimmick play on like one of the first snaps of the game, which TJ Watt returns for a fumble recovery for a touchdown. But after that, I mean, it was all downhill. Pittsburgh ended up scoring 14 more points throughout the rest of the game, but the Chiefs put up 42. So Patrick Mahomes, 400 yards, Travis Kelce, 108, leading rusher, Jerick McKinnon with 61. I don't really,
He had 80 receiving yards, too.
I don't really see anyone except for the Bills or Titans slowing them down. And Wes is here too. Wes and CJ, the Houston boys, showing
Mr.
up at
Married
the same
Man.
time. Welcome. Congratulations
Yeah.
on marriage. Wes, how's it been? Change your mind yet?
Been pretty great.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Don't worry. Just give it a couple of years.
Dig.
Just kidding, Rachel. All right.
Not.
We are as we're going through the divisional or the wild card round, we've already touched on the Bengals at Vegas. I'm
All
sorry,
the games.
Vegas at Bengals, everything except for the Arizona and Rams game. Do you guys have any comments you wanted to bring up that we may have missed from those first 5 games? How do you how do you feel about the Cowboys game, Wes? That's the game we're discussing right now.
It's we beat up on a lot of bad teams all year, and it showed. When we finally played a good team, we got smacked. So, 15 penalties, and you still had a chance at the end of the game. Showed that we made it there on talent, not on skill, and or we made it there on talent, not on discipline or.
I mean, they've been one of the most penalized teams all year.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, you can get away with that in regular season against bad teams. You can't get away with that in the playoffs. So
I feel like that's like a Mike McCarthy like trend though, like everywhere he's at.
So here's my question for you. There's a lot of discussion going on in the national media right now about what the Cowboys do next. Options are fire McCarthy, get a new coach, or a total regime change. Or some people talking about just hand the keys to Kellen Moore. Other people think Kellen Moore. I mean, I think Kellen Moore is actually already interviewed for a few jobs, head coaching jobs. You as a Cowboys fan, give me 2 things. What would you like to see, and what do you think will happen?
well, I think you touched on the wrong coordinator who's probably going to get hired first, Dan Quinn.
My boy.
I would honestly, I'd love to see Dan Quinn stay. I don't know if I'd love him as head coach,
I agree.
but I would love to see him stay.
The guy knows his defenses.
If he's probably the best out of the 3 coaches there. If I'm going to pick one of those guys to stay, I would pick Dan Quinn. But yeah, if it was up to me, I would fire McCarthy and bring in someone else who can freaking run time management skills. Because
Flores?
Yeah, I was gonna say
Flores.
I don't think they're going to fire McCarthy just because Jerry likes to have a puppet, and that's all McCarthy is at this point. So
yeah. What do you think about
But-
Kellen Moore? Do you think he stays as OC or goes somewhere else?
I think it would be a huge mistake if Kellen Moore left because he's not ready to be a head coach. He's way too young.
I agree.
He's not ready at all. Dan
I
Quinn
mean,
can and probably will leave, but Kellen Moore shouldn't because he's definitely not ready.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's go on to the last game. The game that I thought was going to be the game of the week
Me too.
was Arizona at Los Angeles. But man, I mean, the Cardinals looked awful. I mean, literally just on every part of the game. One quote that I heard was that the Cardinals need to start focusing on depth, not just stars, which is like the exact opposite of the Patriots, who need to start focusing on some stars and not just depth. So I'll let you guys speak. What are some notes for you on this game? What do you see going forward with the Cardinals? What do you see going forward with the Rams?
I mean,
I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead, James.
No, go. Let's go. You have been gone for a week.
No, you called it.
All right. The Cardinals have got to get a better offensive line. Kyler Murray has been hurt 2 years in a row now because they don't have an offensive line. He has to make like magician moves out of every game just to keep them alive. He's the reason why they made it here. Obviously, him and James Conner. I mean, James Conner's been a revelation for them. But they have to get a better offensive line. Their defense is not horrendous, but they got to improve on pass rush. JJ Watt wasn't as good as, I mean, he's old, so there's only so much he could do. Even though he probably had the best defensive play in this game when he stopped them on third down. But just with the Cardinals, they got to improve offensive line. There's no way in the world they're going to win if they don't.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty sad when you lose 34-11. If I'm losing 34-11, the way I would see it is, you'd expect the Rams to have some pretty big numbers, but you'd also expect the Cardinals to have some big numbers as well, trying to catch up, some garbage time. Hey, we got to throw the ball. When you look at the passing, rushing, and receiving leaders in the game, Matt Stafford as the passing leader with 202 yards. Kyler couldn't even get that when he was behind.
Stafford only threw 17 passes too.
Yep. Rushing leader. Okay. Well, if the Rams won by this much, it must have just been because they just ran the ball down the throat of the Cardinals. Sony Michel, 58 yards. Didn't do a whole lot. Receiving leader. All right. Well, maybe Cooper Kupp just had a crazy game and they couldn't stop him. 61 yards and a touchdown. So it's not like the Rams just were playing some amazing game or something. The Cardinals just could not get anything going all game long. All game. And it gave the Rams short fields and able to come score without having to do too much. So for me, more so than saying, the Rams are a Super Bowl favorite or contender right now, it more so just says to me the Cardinals just were not that good of a team, especially near the end of the season. They started off super hot, but after losing DeAndre Hopkins, they just didn't have what it took to stick with those big teams.
I give a lot of credit to, the Rams defensive line. Looking at the stats, Aaron Donald only had 1 tackle and half a sack, but then look at Von Miller. He had 6 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. From what I heard, Kyler just wasn't comfortable all game. I didn't watch the game because I was on the honeymoon, but
priorities, Wes.
It seemed, yeah, I know, right? From the one pass that's kind of been going around has been Kyler kind of falling away, throwing the shortest pick 6 in NFL history, literally. It just, Kyler wasn't himself, but also, and losing not having DeAndre Hopkins has hurt him the past few weeks. But I look at this as a team that started off really hot. Maybe we're too good at the wrong time. They were 7-0. They looked like one of the best teams in the league, and they got hot at the wrong time. So, and this is because it's all about timing, right? So look at the Packers, look at the Buccaneers, even. Chiefs were terrible to start the season, and now they're hot.
Yeah,
offensively and defensively. So it's all about getting hot at the right time, and Rams look pretty good defensively, at least.
Speaking of getting hot at the right time, the Tennessee Titans look like they'll be getting back Derrick Henry for the divisional round. I don't know that there could have been a better team to receive a bye than the Tennessee Titans. I mean, how useful is that for them to not have to play a wild card game without Derrick Henry? And now they can get him back with their whole team on rest. I mean, those running backs have been going through it, having to carry the load while he was gone. And Brown gets some time off where he can get to full strength. I think the Titans are set up for a really solid run. James, what's your thoughts for their matchup upcoming here against who do they play?
Bengals.
Yeah, against the Bengals.
Well, obviously Bengals are probably the second hottest team in football, right? Top 3, we'll say them, Chiefs, and Bills. So it's really scary to think about. But the one thing that Tennessee does really well is really slow down an opposing team's offense, and usually that's because of Derrick Henry. So the fact that we're getting him back is, I think, the biggest point of this playoffs for us, because I think we would have lost if we didn't have Derrick Henry. I mean, Foreman has been great. Don't get me wrong. But he's not a Derrick Henry. He doesn't just grind out those 5-yard runs. It just runs through everybody and just wears them down all game long. So I don't know how he's going to play. I mean, he has a Jones fracture, which we know is a pretty bad injury for NFL players.
Painful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there's anyone that can come back for it, I would choose him probably, because the guy's just a tank.
Well, and I know one thing about the Jones fracture is it's really hard to do lateral movement. Now, don't get me wrong, Derrick Henry can make some vicious cuts, but if there's one guy that can run in a straight line downhill, it's Derrick Henry. So
yeah.
So CJ, if I remember correctly, you said you've seen a few Bengals games. What's your opinion on this upcoming game in Tennessee?
I think it's an interesting matchup. Like James said, the Bengals have been really hot. And on top of that, the Tennessee Titans have been super resilient this year. It wasn't just Derrick Henry. They went large stretches without AJ Brown and Julio Jones. And so they've been incredibly consistent, whereas the Bengals haven't. This is a much tougher matchup. I think this will be a good test to see how good of a team the Bengals actually are. This is a big moment, bigger than most of them have been in their NFL careers. So,
I mean, they're two totally different teams. One is a very traditional run first and use the play action to get open receivers. And Tannehill can throw. I'm not pretending he can't. And the other one is we're going to come at you and score as many points as possible as quickly as we can. So
they kind of made that transition in the middle of the year too, because the Bengals started off very run dominant with Joe Mixon doing so well. But as Joe Burrow's progressed throughout his second year, they've really added like an explosive passing offense to what they've had. I think it's just going to be interesting to see how that holds up, because his biggest games were against the Ravens and the Chiefs, whose defenses aren't quite as good. So
yeah, this is definitely the week I'm looking forward to most, because as I look at all of these games, I just think that each one of them, either team could win. It's very, very exciting. All right, Mitch, you're going to be at this game. Oh, go ahead, Mitch.
One quick question. How many games did the Titans play this year with a healthy AJ Brown, a healthy Julio, and a healthy Derrick Henry?
Probably 3, maybe.
Not many.
Were like all those guys were fully like healthy, full go?
Probably the first 3 games of the year or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Julio,
I think that
early on.
I think that's a factor for the Bengals, that, I mean, you don't really have anything to go off of with this team, because it's actually different than it's been for the last 15 weeks.
Yeah. And they've been able to prepare for 2 weeks for this game. So
yeah.
I definitely give an edge to Tennessee. Let's make our picks real quick on this one. I'm going to pick Tennessee on this game.
I'm going to pick Tennessee as well.
I mean, you know who I'm picking.
CJ?
This one's so tough. I think this one's actually going to be real close.
I think so too.
I'll go against the grain, pick the Bengals, so we can have some fun.
All right, and Wes?
Yeah, I'm going to go against the grain too. I think the Bengals are hot. I'm going to take the Bengals.
I honestly, I hope you're right. I have nothing against Tennessee, James, but I love watching the Bengals play right now. All right, next game, Mitch, you'll be there. Congratulations.
Yes.
That's going to be a lot of fun. San Francisco at Green Bay, 7:15. I believe the temperature is supposed to be 3 degrees. So have fun. Mitch, I'll let you start off this game. What are your thoughts? What do you think is going to happen? What do you want? I mean, we know what you want to happen, but what do you think will happen?
The Packers and Niners of the last couple of years have had some really crazy games. I mean, this year the Niners basically came back, won a game that they had lost, and then lost it immediately. So that was a tough game. And a lot of people want to look at that and say, oh, the Packers are better. The Niners are a lot different team than they were in that week. And obviously I follow a lot of San Francisco stuff, a lot of Niner stuff on Twitter, and just, looking at stats and reading numbers and stuff. This year's team right now for the Niners is actually comparable or better to the 2019 Super Bowl team. So I really like where the Niners are at. And I know we talk about some of the hottest teams in football. The Niners defense is one of the hottest defenses in football right now. They were, very dominating. They are. I mean, their special team sucks. It's one of the worst in football, but so is the Packers. So I do think that that's going to play a factor. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is just going to be able to do whatever he wants to do. He is Aaron Rodgers. I'm not discounting that. And our quarterback is Jimmy Garoppolo. So I have not forgotten.
Do you know, Mitch, sorry to interrupt, do you know if Bosa and Warner are going to play?
It is trending that way. Bosa went into concussion protocol right away, and Warner had a similar ankle injury to one he had earlier this season, and he did not miss a game. He played the following week. So it wasn't a high ankle sprain. So they're not, I would assume Bosa is going to be closer to that 100%. Warner, maybe not so much. But even since the Packer game, the Niners have moved a couple guys around from where they're playing. So I'm super biased. So I've got all these reasons why I think the Niners are a better team than I think a lot of people are giving them credit. I'm not sure that I would bet on the Niners to win this game. I think the thing that's going to hurt the Niners the most is the Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon 1-2 punch out of the backfield. I think that's the biggest difference. And if you look at these two teams from where they were at in the 2019 NFC Championship, the Niners don't have Mostert, but they got Mitchell, so a running back that could go off. it's not a whole lot different. A lot of those guys are still there from both teams. So I do think this will be a very close game. I've seen some people thinking it's a blowout. I'm going to say Niners on the podcast, but I would not bet that line. I would not bet.
Yeah, I mean,
I might bet Niners to cover. It's a 5.5 spread. So they might lose by 3.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this game. I could see it going really any direction. I could see this being a low scoring game of defense, kind of stifling things. I would probably tend towards both teams scoring probably near around 30 points. Just because I think both these offenses are too good to not get the ball in the end zone. But to me, Aaron Rodgers at home in January with Lambeau and just the crowd just going nuts. I just feel like there's not many
Niners
places.
They do travel well.
That's what they say.
I just feel like there aren't many places that have more of a home field advantage.
No, I would 100% agree. I saw something today that was like, oh, Jimmy Garoppolo grew up in Chicago, so he played in the cold his whole life, and I'm just like, that's cool. So it's not going to be like a shock of a lifetime, but it's like Aaron Rodgers lives there now. That's where he played 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, that's my thoughts on it. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think either team's going to get blown out. I think it'll be a less than a 1-score game.
All right. My official pick is Packers. I'm going to step away for a second. I'll be right back, and you guys keep the show going.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Mitch there and say, I think it's gonna be a close game. The Niners, the Cowboys didn't play well, but I would say the Niners, I wouldn't say they played great either. And they still played way better than the Cowboys. So if they play half as good as they can, I think it'll be a very close game. Do I think they'll win? No, they might, but I think it'll be a very close game. But it's a good thing you're wearing 49ers gear there, Mitch, because like I saw the beard and the hair, and I'm like, you look like Aaron Rodgers over here. So it's a good thing you're wearing the gear. People might try to shoot you at the stadium, or actually they might try to hug you since you're going to the Green Bay. But yeah, no, I think it'll be a really close game. The Packers run game is a lot stronger than the Cowboys, but I think the 49ers still have a very strong defensive line regardless.
I guess I'm the only one that thinks different with this game because all the reasons that Jake said, in Lambeau, the temperature, Packers are 8-0 at home this year. I think the Packers win pretty easily. Sorry, Mitch. I do apologize.
I'm going to switch to the Bengals, actually.
I knew you were going to say that.
Bengals-Titans game. I'm making that switch officially.
I do not think Nick Bosa will play. He was pretty messed up. I don't know how long you need for protocol. It's weird.
I can't imagine. I mean, if there is a sliver of a chance of him playing, he will be out there.
No, but the thing with protocol was
I'm saying with protocol. If they're
if
you gotta wait till 5:30 p.m. and then you can play. Like he'll be there.
But it's just so hard with the NFL and concussion protocol. Even you've seen it this year. Like big names weren't playing because of it. It's like they don't play any games with it. But he may. But he looked pretty messed up. Like he didn't even almost try to come back in the game. He went straight back to the locker room.
Yeah. That's possible. That would be a big deal.
That's going to be the key.
That would be a big deal. If he's not there, that's almost like 3 more points in the Packers' favor. That makes it 5.5 to 8.5. I saw some people saying this was a 10-point spread to the Packers' favor, and I think that's kind of ridiculous, personally.
Anywho, CJ, you got anything?
I think one thing about this matchup is that the 49ers have the tools to limit what Aaron Rodgers can do. We talk about that he's Aaron Rodgers, but he can't really do anything if they don't have the ball. And just 49ers have one of the best run offenses. I mean, if they can keep the ball away from him, they could maybe tighten things up a bit. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game, especially if any wind starts to get involved, just with how cold it is. I don't know what the weather is for that weekend, but
I'll tell you, just keep going, man.
But I think that'll play a big factor into it, because if it's a run focused game, the 49ers are just so creative with what they do on offense. It just messes with people. And so I think they have a good shot of winning, honestly.
Supposed to have like around 16 miles per hour winds.
A big factor.
And just
go ahead, Wes.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, just to piggyback off what CJ said, they're so good. The 49ers are so good with giving the ball to Debo And one of the big stats that they kept showing was yards after catch or yards after contact. 49ers lead the league with Kittle and Debo. So there's so many different ways that they can get the ball, get the ball in their playmakers' hands, and they're the best team in the league once the ball's in their hands. So I think that's a big plus in the 49ers' favor.
Yeah, and I mean, wow, guys, I'm really feeling the love. This is so cool. People agree with me.
All right.
And one more thing. I could talk about this all day. So I know we got to get moving. If you look at the week, I don't know, whatever the week that Packers beat the Niners, Debo I don't think he had any rushing yards. Elijah Mitchell did not play that game, and Brandon Ayuk was still in Shanahan's doghouse, so he was a non-factor. All three of those things have changed drastically since then. So the Packers, I mean, they have that extra week to prepare. They need to have a good, solid game plan, and I don't doubt that they will. Matt LaFleur is amazing head coach. I like him a lot, but I'm gonna pick Niners. And Jake, I switched from Titans to Bengals.
Since in the 30 seconds I was gone out of nowhere.
Yes.
It's because I said
It
this
was
wasn't going to be a
unprompted.
close game.
James was like, I think the Niners don't even belong at this game.
I didn't say that. That's not
That's
all
what it
I
felt
said.
like.
So for that reason alone, you switch Bengals.
Yeah,
love
it is.
All right, James, just you and me.
Well,
Okay.
Whatever the phrase they kept using is us this time.
Moving on to the Los Angeles Rams at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another game where I'm just going to be having trouble picking it. I mean, you look at the experience that the Buccaneers have as a team. Every single one of these players was here last year and they succeeded, and now they know how to do it, compared to the Rams, who I don't know if one of these players have been here before. I mean, Von Miller has, at least, and probably
He's
some
an
other,
MVP.
probably some other pieces I can't think of. But none of their receivers have, none of their running backs, their quarterback hasn't, their linemen, I don't think
Sony Michel.
Sonny Michel, yes. 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
You gotta hate when that's your experience on your team.
Yeah.
Don't worry, guys. I've been here before.
Hey guys, we got this. All right, I've been here before.
I know exactly where to stand on the bench.
No, he'll play plenty. He was like a big reason we made it to the Super Bowl that year. He had his best stretch of football was during that playoff run. But I'm gonna have a hard time picking against Tom Brady. If Stafford can play turnover-free ball, I think they'll have a really good shot, though. What do you guys think?
I agree with you for the reasons you mentioned. You have a very playoff inexperienced team going against a very recent veteran team. So for that reason, I'm out on the Rams.
Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, the receivers were here with
And also
Jared Goff a couple years
Sean
ago.
McVay. That's why I'm picking. Now I do like Bruce Arians a lot, and it's hard to pick against Tom Brady, but I think the Rams do have the one thing that gives Tom Brady trouble. They have a great defensive line. If you can get to Brady early, you can cause him to fluster a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't
Aaron
get to
Donald's
him,
in his face,
he's just going to pick you apart. But they do have the tools. I know we were talking about tools earlier, but they have the tools to take the Buccaneers down. And I honestly think the winner of this game wins the Super Bowl. That's how I feel about both these teams.
Hot take.
And I think the Rams are going to win, and I think the Rams are going to go on to win the Super Bowl. So.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the formula to beat Tom Brady, it's bring pressure without blitzing. And if there's a team left in the playoffs that can do that, it's the team that has Aaron Donald and Von Miller. So if those two guys can bring pressure on Brady and they're able to drop back 6, 7, 8 guys in coverage, then I think that they're going to have a chance to win this game. I think this should be a close game as well. This one I probably expect to be more high scoring than some of the others, though.
Yeah. Plus you saw what I don't know if Jalen Ramsey was covering AJ Green, but AJ Green had 0 catches last game.
If the Bucs have Chris Godwin and Mike and Antonio Brown, I think this is a much easier pick. But without both those guys, if we don't know if Fournette will be back or not either. So without those guys, I just don't know that they'll have the firepower to overcome this Rams defense. So I'm not undecided. I'll make my pick after you guys do. CJ, what do you think about this game?
I think my biggest thought was what you said about no Chris Godwin, no Leonard Fournette. The Bucs have a severely depleted set of offensive weapons, and I think that could hurt them. I believe these teams played at the second game of the season this year, didn't they? Or second or third?
One of those two.
Bucks Rams.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, and this was a pretty big Rams win, if I recall right. And
Yeah,
I just feel like the roster has gotten a lot better since then. They added Von Miller, they added Odell Beckham Jr. They've had like a bunch of games to get their continuity down, even though they're struggled a bit towards the end of the season. They have more time together now.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the roster just looks like what the Bucks looked like last year, where you just have stars, like a star-studded juggernaut on both sides of the field. They're a tough team for me to pick against.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just going to come to, can Matt Stafford avoid the turnovers? James?
I look at it as, the big thing about coming into this year was Matthew Stafford and the playoffs. He had never won. He's been there a couple times and had just never won. And I think he got over that hump. And I think now he can really relax and he can play football because we all know he's good. We know he could easily be a top 5 quarterback every year. And we've seen that in the past. And I think, with the Buccaneers, their 2 offensive linemen are hurt. One of them, their best one's probably not going to play. Wirfs, whatever his name is.
Wirfs.
Yeah, he's probably not going to play potentially. He shouldn't play because when he went back in the game, he got manhandled. And then their center is also hurt, even though he stayed in the game.
He's going to play. He's a freak.
And I think that's just going to pay dividends to the Rams. And I'll bet they'd line Aaron Donald up on him every time and let him just power rush him or do his moves. And I think it's going to be a lone day. I think it's going to be a very close game, but I do think the Rams win. And they go on. So
You guys have all made some very good points on why the Rams are going to win.
What do you think, Mitch?
I'm going to stay with Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Just so someone does.
I'm picking the Bucks as well.
Okay, so go Rams.
No, I just think that if this game is that close, like we expect it to be, I have a hard time picking against Tom Brady to do something amazing as he seems to do. I mean,
Yeah.
Question for you, Jake.
I have a hard time with that, so I'll pick the Bucks. Yes.
From what I understand, when Tom Brady was in New England, he did not have uber star-packed offenses outside of himself and Julian Edelman, maybe Gronk.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, outside of 2007 when they had Randy Moss, he always had one guy that he could rely on at any moment. So whether that was Gronk or Julian Edelman, but you'd argue Julian Edelman, we don't know what he might have been without Tom Brady.
Right.
I think he would have been good, but yeah.
I know we talked about Godwin and Brown leaving, and I don't think that's that's definitely an important factor. But if you had to pick a quarterback whose offensive weapons were kind of missing, but he still had his stud and his best friend tight end, I'd probably go with Tom Brady on that one.
That's how I feel about it as well. And I just think,
but I think all y'all made really good points for the Rams too.
I mean, I won't be shocked. I won't be shocked if I get every single one of these games wrong. I feel like all 4 of them.
I will be shocked. I flipped the coin for all of them.
The odds are low. All right. So Buffalo at Kansas City. This one I feel like is a little bit easier. Out of the 4 games, this might be the easiest one for me, which
I think this is the hardest one by far.
Yeah, I know.
I agree.
To me, I think Buffalo is just the all-around better team right now. I know that the Chiefs have more studs, but Buffalo has a better defense. Their quarterback is almost equal, I would say, to Mahomes. Yes, Hill over Diggs, Kelsey over Knox, but I just think that right now, the way the Bills are playing, just the dominance that we've seen of them recently, I take the Bills. And I understand people who are going to take the Chiefs. And I know it's in Arrowhead. So being in Arrowhead is one of the toughest places to play. But I'm going Bills.
Anywho, I think this is the hardest game to pick. You have the 2 best offenses probably in the playoffs. So it really doesn't matter how good your defense is because both the teams are going to pick apart whatever defense you have because the play callers are phenomenal and they always find the open guy. And I think you have to look at weapons. Now the Bills have a better run game. Obviously you got Singletary's evolved this year finally after 18
somehow
seasons.
Playing well.
Yeah. You got Josh Allen's running ability and when he runs, he's going to try to hurt someone. And you have Zach Moss. Zach Moss didn't even play last week, did he?
No, Zach Moss is a non-factor right now.
Yeah.
But I think he's better than whoever the third string is right now for the Chiefs. I mean, Darrell Williams was their backup, and he played like 1 down, and then they went to Jerick McKinnon the whole game. I don't know if Clyde's supposed to be back. Does anyone know that?
I'm not sure. I can look it up.
Nope.
I think that the receivers are just so much better all around. You got Robinson, you got Hill, even Kelsey. Kelsey's probably the best tool in this whole game. He's impossible to guard one-on-one. And when you double team him, that leaves Tyreek Hill wide open. And I feel like they
did have a full practice Wednesday.
Okay. And I know CH hasn't been the greatest, but he's another weapon that they have. He can catch the ball really well. He can block well. I mean, usually. Sometimes he's very inconsistent. But they haven't had to use Tyreek Hill really yet this whole season, I feel like. It's just been Mahomes throwing to Kelsey, Mahomes using Robinson, Pringle.
Mahomes has missed Hill a few times, wide open, deep as well.
And I feel like this is the game where Hill just has a breakout game. And I feel like it's going to be like 40 to 45 or something like that, something nuts. And I do think the Chiefs end up winning.
Doesn't feel good to say, does it?
I picked the Bills in my pick'ems, but I could go, I don't know, either way. It's tossed up to me.
Yeah. CJ, Wes?
Yeah.
You can go last, Mitch.
I don't want to talk.
But so I'll just say, looking at these teams, I know that they have two great offenses, third and fourth best offense in the league. Bills third, Chiefs fourth. The Bills also have the best points allowed in the league, only 17 points a game. The Chiefs are eighth, so those are two really good teams there. I equivalent some of that to playing the Jets, so twice a year. But then you know there's not a whole lot separate. There are two really good defenses as well. The only thing that's different is the Chiefs are the 16th best rushing yards allowed per game, and Bills are sixth. So I think this will be actually. I mean, I like both offenses, but I also like both defenses. I think this will be the team that hits 21st will win the game.
So who are you going with?
I'm gonna go with Chiefs.
In the first 10 minutes.
Chiefs for Wes. CJ?
I don't know. I agree with James. I think this is the hardest one to pick. I think one edge that the Chiefs have is Mahomes and Andy Reid have done it before. They've won a championship. They're also hungry because they lost last year. I don't know. They have more experience in big games. It's really tough. I don't think saying either one of these teams is going to feel good, but I just think Mahomes is the best player on the field, and that's what moves the needle for me.
Okay, I can respect that. Mitch?
I'm gonna go with the Bills. I don't know. I just think they're gonna win.
It's fair. I mean, it's hard. It's practically a coin flip.
I look at, and I know, like, I didn't actually realize Kansas City's points allowed was that good. I thought their defense was a lot worse. I mean, usually when people play them, they're like, oh, Mahomes just like keeps, throwing the ball and doing his thing and scores lots of points. It doesn't matter. The defense is bad. The Bills are the best defense in the league, or they have been.
I mean, I feel like
so for me, the defense is what's going to move the needle.
Fair enough.
I feel like we're forgetting how badly Mahomes played at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that's the beginning of the year. Look at you. Remember, it's however hot you are coming to the playoffs.
Yeah,
and they were one of the hottest teams of football.
And so are the Bills.
Yeah, more no,
Yeah. So to me, I think this is definitely the hardest one to call. I'm gonna say Bills. I like the Bills. I'm not a huge fan of the Chiefs, just because I like a little variety from year to year. But I'll go Bills. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs win. Not at all.
We just talk about Mitch's decision making and picking teams. It's just breathtaking. It's just incredible how he's choosing these teams.
Right.
I picked against James's team because he picked against mine. Picked the Bills because I think they're gonna win.
And Mitch went 5-0, 6-0 last week. So
Niners because they're my favorite team. And what was the other one? There was a couple of Bucks. I don't know. Tom Brady.
That's why you're here. Mitch. That's why you're here. All right. I mean, this is the week that I look forward to the most in the NFL season, even over the Super Bowl. I just feel like this is when you have the four best games of the year. I mean, we know that these games should be all awesome, and we get them for 8 hours each day, more or less. So I really look forward to this weekend. This is one of my favorite weekends of the
I
year.
would definitely say, yeah, I'm with you. I'm really excited. I feel like these are just all really, really good games. And I don't know if having 7 teams in the playoffs is going to net 4 really what I think are going to be really close games, but I love it.
Yeah, this is my highlight of the year right here. You can get to the Buffalo at Kansas City Chiefs game for only $104. So
Yeah, I
That
look
is
at the
a lot
prices.
cheaper than the Packers game.
Funny, Mitch, because the cheapest ticket I see for that game is 148 right now.
Wow.
Yep.
I don't know.
It's like
Somebody-
you wasted $60.
Not really.
well, that's probably before
Nice.
fees and stuff, James. All right.
Nope.
So we've made our
Why don't
predictions.
you buy that ticket and prove me wrong?
We've talked through the playoffs. How far along are we right now? Anyone can see that?
About it, almost an hour.
All right, let's go ahead and forego some of our previous discussion that we thought we would talk about today. So we'll save some of that for next week. I guess it'll just get pushed off again.
Shocker.
But
It's like we have
NBA
2 games to talk about. So
yeah, NBA season's in full swing. So James, West, CJ, take away the segment because I watched probably 3 games this year.
All right. Well, I'll go. I'll talk about it. West, CJ, let me tell you, this season has already been crazy. I mean, you look at the rankings right now, and nobody probably have these rankings as they are, especially in the East. You look at the East.
yeah.
Chicago's 1.
I
Miami's
did say the
2.
Bulls were a sleeper team.
Yeah, they're sleeping.
I did say that.
I believe you.
Yeah.
And then, but Milwaukee at 5. And then, I mean, Boston at 10.
Cavs 4.
Yeah, they're gonna fall off probably.
Let's go
For the
Cavs.
team.
I didn't even realize it. Yeah,
I've been
Cavs
winning
all the
streak.
way. Their young players are doing really well, correct? That's at least what I've been seeing on Twitter.
Sure.
Yep.
Mobley.
Mobley's been really well.
Evan Mobley.
oh yeah, he's been great.
And then you look at the West. The biggest surprise, obviously, is the Grizzlies. I mean, John Morant's playing like an MVP right now.
Mm-hmm.
He has solidified as my favorite player in the NBA since Ray Allen has quit. I haven't had one. Just watching him play, it's just when he goes to block, I'm shocked he doesn't hurt himself more. How high and how far he jumps and stuff. But let's not get on tender about that. Who I love. I guess Dallas. The West is not too bad. I mean, I guess Golden State being the number 2 seed without Clay being there, maybe
And Clay is now back. So
he is now back.
Yeah.
It
Clay
is
is
pretty
back.
good.
There we go.
I mean,
Portland being out at 10.
yeah.
Hmm. I don't
I
know
think
about
one of my favorite predictions I had was the Lakers will not be a playoff team, and right now they are just barely in there.
Eighth seed.
In the play-in tournament.
They're
in the
at
play-in.
500. So I'm very happy that the AARP Lakers team are barely in there. So James, man, your Hawks though. Your Hawks.
Look, let me tell you something.
Your Hawks.
We have. This is going to sound really ridiculous, but I think we have way too many people that are good, and we don't know how to use them. I hate we lost Cam Reddish because he's obviously one of our best scorers, but I think already it showed dividends that we're starting to play better as a team. He's just a more one-on-one player. He belongs in New York. That's where he belongs. So don't be hating on my Hawks. They're coming back.
Well, I just think I would kind of disagree with you there. I don't think y'all have too many good players. I think y'all have too many above average players, and they're getting too much minutes. So I think it's interesting that Cam Reddish just got traded to the Knicks. Now he's with RJ Barrett, and you got 2 out of the 3 Blue Devils on that team now. Just missing Zion. But the other cool thing there is John Morant was actually high school teammates with Zion, and didn't hardly get any offers. Went to Murray State. Zion got to Duke, and now Ja is the by far better NBA player so far into their careers. But big storylines this year. I mean, looking at the Bulls, obviously, DeMar DeRozan looking like a MVP candidate. Surprisingly, I was not a big fan of that pickup. And then the Heat doing what they're doing with just kind of reserve players. But I think this season's been really cool because we've seen so many guys go out with COVID protocols, and then we're seeing guys we haven't seen in a long, long time. Like Lance Stevenson got picked up by the Pacers and then went off at 30. So that was really cool.
He got picked up by the Hawks.
Lance Stevenson was also picked up by the Pacers and went off at
moving
30
around
on the Pacers. Yeah. So, but no, it's been a really cool season with seeing all these guys, seeing guys get a chance and then making the most out of it. And now they're signing with teams. So it's been a really cool season from my point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I'm really excited to see how it up because a lot of times in the NBA you'll have teams that start off hot. We mentioned that might happen to Cleveland, but I think it'll be interesting to see like the Heat. Are they going to hold on to the 2, fall back down to the 6 or 7 where we kind of expected them? The Grizzlies. I'm surprised, honestly, at the top of all of the West. I didn't expect either one of those 3 teams to be up there. I thought they were going to be the bottom of the playoffs.
You
But
thought Phoenix was?
I thought they would have been lower. I thought they were going to be a 4 or 5 maybe. But I expected Utah is usually good in the regular season. I thought Denver would be a little bit better. I think the Mavericks to be higher this year too, but they been consistent from year to year. Phoenix has, so I don't know. It's definitely been an unpredictable season. There's no even that's I don't know. It feels like there's no one team that's just way better than us, and it's exciting.
Is Chris Paul still playing well, even though how old he is?
Yes, he is. Kind of hitting on a few storylines for the Mavericks. Luka Doncic came into the season at 280 pounds, so he's been coming in trying to work off his baby fat the whole season because he came in super out of shape.
That's nice
the Nuggets lost Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray's been out for the whole season so far. Michael Porter went out with a back injury, I believe.
I can't believe they're still a 6 seed without them.
So Nikola Jokic has played. He's been himself. He's been awesome. Aaron Gordon has played well. Let's see. Clippers. The Clippers have not had Paul George or Kawhi Leonard hardly all season.
So they could still turn it around.
They're still sitting there at the
And no
9
more
seed.
Blake Griffin either.
You got that right.
That's
Was
right.
that 10 years ago?
No Balake. But he has been on the Nets and he's been getting some playing time.
So how has Kyrie playing these away games affected the Nets? Has it made them better in those away games, or has it not really made much of an impact?
I think Kyrie's been phenomenal when the games he's playing. He's playing tonight. He's got 26 points on 11 of 17 shooting. So the games he's playing, he's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like he never missed a beat.
He just can't play West California or New York games, correct?
Correct.
But tonight we are seeing the best big man matchup of the season: Mo Bamba versus Joel Embiid, and Joel Embiid has 47 and 12, with Mo Bamba with 30 and 4.
I didn't know Mo Bamba was having a good year.
47 and
7 of 8 from 3.
Mo Bamba?
Yes. And Joel Embiid has 47 points on him though, so they're kind of going at it. I think Joel got mad that Bamba had 28 in the first half. So.
Speaking of basketball, your old varsity assistant coach today had a white versus blue scrimmage, and I coached the white team to victory. So I'm currently 1-0 as a basketball coach.
There we go.
Are you though?
Oh, kind of though.
Can you tell me why the Milwaukee Bucks are beating good teams and losing to bad teams?
No.
Are you trying to say the Hawks are bad?
It doesn't make well, they're 18 and 25.
Had a rough patch, rough months.
Had a rough season, but they're still good.
2 or 3 months.
It's been interesting with them because they've had so many guys in and out of the lineup.
The Bucks,
specifically, yes, the Bucks, specifically Middleton and honestly, Brook Lopez is still out, but Middleton's been out of the lineup a lot this season, and they've just kind of been piecing guys together. Like tonight, George Hill's in the starting lineup, and they're working Dante DiVincenzo back into the lineup. So just guys are in and out of the lineup, and I think they're kind of resting guys on the bad teams. And like tonight, they're up 11 on the Grizzlies. So just kind of picking and choosing where you want to rest guys, I guess.
Cool.
So early, give me each person an early MVP favorite right now. James?
We're about midway through the season. So.
Yeah. Mid-season.
Give me your preseason MVP.
I'm just gonna go Steph. I mean, it's hard. You can go. There's like 6 people you can go. But I'll go him. It's just how good the Warriors are doing and how good he was at the beginning of the season. He's cooled off a little bit, but I'll stick with him.
CJ.
I'm gonna go with Jokic. Just the way they're still in the playoffs despite missing Porter and Murray. And then I saw a stat. He's having like one of the most efficient seasons, if not the most efficient season of all time. Like he's kind of going crazy, just him by himself there. So I think it's going to be him.
Wes.
And I just want to mention a few guys. I mean, DeMar DeRozan should be mentioned. Kevin Durant's having an amazing year. Honestly, even though the team is terrible, LeBron James is having one of the best statistical seasons of his career,
Which is crazy.
So really credit to him. John Morant's been phenomenal. Obviously, CJ said Jokic. I still got to go with Stephen Curry. I think he's having just an amazing year, and he's carried the team to the second best record in the West. And now they're getting Clay back, and Draymond's even been out. But I mean,
he couldn't do it without Jordan Poole.
Obviously,
he
right.
easily could.
But I think Steph has been a leader. Has been a great leader for them this year. Plus, he's putting up the points and putting up a ton of wins. So a lot of credit to Steph. So he's my MVP so far.
Mitch.
I would also say Stephen Curry. I do think with Clay coming back, there's going to be a little mix up because that whole offense has had to run through Stephen Curry basically for a year and a half, 2 years, where it's like Stephen Curry's the guy. He's the only guy. Where Clay is just as, or can be just as much of the guy to hit those shots and to take those shots. And I think a couple of the people on that team that haven't been for a while, just don't remember the Splash Brothers, and it's like both of those guys could go off any minute. So I think there's actually a little chemistry even to work back to for the Warriors. So I'd be surprised if they kind of have a little bit of a rocky time, but then finish the season really strong.
I would say the good news about that is Clay doesn't need the ball to score.
Yeah.
He can, he doesn't need to dribble, and Steph can take you off the dribble. He's really good with the ball in his hands. But I mean, yeah, there's going to be some chemistry. I don't think they played together for 2 years besides, this past week. But the good news about that is Clay doesn't need the ball to score. So
and Draymond Green really does actually help them a lot with all that because he's just like the glue for that whole team.
He's so good off ball. As much as I hate him, he's good.
As a Warriors fan, that's what I would say as well.
All
Took
right.
the words right out of my mouth.
Without any further deliberation, it is the moment you've all been waiting for. Now, sadly, your most recent champion, myself, cannot win 2 weeks in a row. So if you'd like to tune out now, this has been the Swinging Bunt. Thank you for listening. But Wes, if you didn't know, I did bring home the title last week. But this week, if you didn't listen to the show,
have you listened to today's show? I was just saying you brought it. I just saying you talked about it. That's all. I'm just
all right. So what we're gonna walk through is just some playoff trivia, NFL playoff trivia. I did not create this like I usually like to and get super specific, but I just looked up a specific NFL playoff trivia quiz. I'm gonna ask you 10 questions. Honestly, 9 questions. I'll come up with the 10th one on my own.
Big boy, proud of you.
On the fly, I had to think of it because I haven't
waited you 10% of the work.
Okay. So the first question is, and where it'll go is I will give you all a chance to answer any order, whatever. I'll just start with James, work around my screen this way, and then so on and so forth. So the Redskins played in 3 Super Bowls in the 80s. True or false? James, you can go first.
Sure.
CJ.
False.
Wes.
False.
And Mitch.
False.
It is true. They played against the Dolphins, Raiders,
Wes, you
and
seemed
Broncos.
so confident. I would have false.
Mitch should go first every time, probably.
Who was the
Not
quarterback?
how that works.
Was it Doug Williams?
That might be saved for a later question.
He
I thought
doesn't
Doug Williams
know.
won one. They only won one.
What team was the
How
first
many?
team? This is going to start with CJ and end with James. What team was the first team to lose 4 Super Bowls in consecutive seasons? CJ, you're first. They appeared in
was the
4 straight
Bills.
Super Bowls and got them all wrong. CJ says the Bills. Wes?
I'm gonna go with the Bills.
Mitch?
Who do you think? So they went to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row and lost all 4
All
years.
4 years.
So they had a 4-year hangover.
Those are the
I'll say the
worst.
Bills. I don't know.
James?
I'll go Bears.
It is the Bills. We got a
Yeah,
tie.
James.
Yes.
I'm
Let's
surprised you
go.
didn't know. When I saw this question, I thought it was something all NFL fans knew. Yeah, they had 4 straight losses.
Joe Theismann was the quarterback, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, for the
Oh, for
Dolphins.
the
Up
Super
till-
Bowls?
Up to
Ouch.
yeah. So
Lawrence Taylor broke that thing.
The Giants almost won in 1991. They lost 20-19. And then they lost the next 3 in 92, 93, 94. Which team won Super Bowl 3? Wes, then Mitch, then James, then CJ.
Oh, geez.
Oh, I know who won the first 2.
Which team won? Yeah, everyone knows the first 2, but who won Super Bowl 3?
I'm going first.
Wes is first, then you.
I'm gonna go the Cowboys.
I was actually thinking the Cowboys as well, so I'm gonna go Cowboys.
James.
I don't want to choose the same answer.
Don't
I'll go Cowboys.
say the Washington football team.
Carl.
Dang, I don't even know what teams were around then.
Most of them.
I'm gonna go Packers.
Not the
I
Texans.
got
That's
no
gonna be
idea.
my
Wasn't
other
that
guess.
the was not the Packers.
Jets. Jets. The New York
Don't
They
Jets.
gave me
Wow.
30 guesses, and that would probably been one of my last ones.
They did. They won
Don't
Super
make-
Bowl 3.
I was just talking to somebody about that the other day.
Who's the
first-
quarterback? Just to continue.
I just said it. Joe
I think it's Joe Theismann. Yeah. Okay.
Joe Namath.
Or Joe Namath. Thank you.
Theismann. You
All right.
stupid.
The Bears defeated, our current score is still 1 all around. The Bears defeated what team in the Fog Bowl in the 1988 season playoffs? What team did the Bears defeat in the Fog Bowl? Mitch, you are up.
What stinks is I asked this question as trivia.
Yes, you did. You asked this question probably 3 or 4 months ago.
What year was it again? Did you say that?
1988. None
The
of us were
Bears beat-
alive.
The Bears.
It is an
James is-
NFC, currently still an NFC team. I'll give you everyone that.
I don't know. The Eagles.
Okay. James.
Was this a home game for them?
That's table talk.
I'm not sure.
Hmm. I'll just go. I guess the Giants.
Giants for James. CJ
I was gonna go Giants too, so
and
I'll
Wes.
stick with it.
Lions.
Mitch, you're our leader. The Eagles lost to the Bears 20-12 in the Fog Bowl in 1988.
Awesome.
2-1 to 1-1.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
always ashamed when Mitch beats me.
That is crazy.
What team entered the 1987 playoffs, the regular season record of 13-2? This is pretty random. What team entered the 1987 playoffs with a league leading record of 13-2?
It
Um,
was good in the 80s.
I will
Who's
say
first?
I will say it's an NFC team again. Narrow it down a little bit. You're first this time, James.
Well, I'm going to go with one of those 2 teams that played the next year, and I'm going to go with the Bears.
Okay, Carl.
Go Cowboys. I don't know.
Wesley
49ers.
and Mitchell.
I was gonna say Niners.
It is the Niners. The Niners went 13-2, but they lost the Vikings in the second round 36-24. So Mitch has 3, Wes has 2.
I think it was good in the 80s.
Yeah,
Niners.
So good.
That was the right way to go. That's what I would have done too. Who was good in the 80s?
That's what I was thinking.
What team shut out the Cowboys in the second round? So this is favors CJ and Wes. The second round in 1985, this team was shut out by who? Cowboys were shut out by who?
Who
West
goes
you're first.
I'm gonna go with the Bears.
No, CJ should have been first.
I don't care. I'm
All
going
right,
with the
CJ,
Bears.
you're next. I'm going third. I know that much.
Yeah.
Again, an NFC team.
Yeah.
The Bills.
I'll go Vikings. I got no idea.
Mitch
I'm gonna say the Niners.
and James.
Giants.
It was the Rams. No one got a point this time.
Son of a gun.
Pretty obscure trivia. NFC
Yeah.
1980s trivia.
I
I
can't wait
cannot
for the 10th
believe-
question to be 30 points. I can't wait for that.
It'll be 1. It'll be maybe 2. Well, let's establish it now. The last question's worth 2. Okay.
Oh, great. I just gotta
I
get up
pretty
to
much
you.
cheat for you every time. I will
Sorry.
hear that.
The last question's worth 2. All right.
And then you
The
still pick
Redskins
the-
or the Niners appeared in the NFC Championship game
Yeah, we know
every
what they're
year from 1981 to 1994. Is that true or false? So one of those two teams, it's kind of like the Patriots and Tom Brady and Peyton Manning for a while. So is it true that one of those two teams appeared in the NFC Championship from 1981 to 1994? True or false? Wes, you're first.
Which two teams again? Say it again. Redskins and
Redskins
Niners.
and Niners.
I'm gonna say false.
Mitchell,
False.
James.
How many more questions do we have?
We have after this
Who
one.
wants to say
3
false?
more.
Who wants to say true?
What'd you say? How many?
3 more after this.
True. Even
CJ.
though based
True.
on the questions we've said, I don't think it's true.
That's what you should have done, James, because we already said that the Rams defeated the Bears in a 1985 matchup. So this one was false. Every other matchup, though, in the NFC Championship involved either the Niners or the Redskins.
That is called using the test to help you on the test.
Who said false on that one?
Those two.
Yeah, boy.
Okay. Oh, so 4, 3, 1, and 1. Is it true
Rookies.
or is it false that the Raiders played in 5 consecutive AFC Championship games in the 1970s?
I start?
You start first, Mitchell.
True.
False. So stupid.
CJ
True.
and Wes.
True.
This one was true. Who said false in this one?
I did.
James.
Is that when didn't Terry Bradshaw put them at this
John
time?
Madden.
The Raiders did play. This is true. The Raiders did play in 5 straight, but they only won the game once.
Ooh.
So,
Packers are on a similar trend, except they haven't won yet.
all right.
From
From 1970 to 1990, how
True.
many? Whoever's closest here will get 1 point. If you get it right on the nose, you get 2. How many times did the Rams appear in the NFC Championship from 1970 to 1990? So a 20-year period. How many? James, you're first.
4.
CJ. This really puts you in a pickle because Mitch gets to go last. Good old pickle.
I'm gonna go 5.
Y'all are picking the
Yes.
numbers I was going to say.
Yeah.
3 for
Okay.
Wes.
Well, I know they were there in 85, and it wasn't them from 81 to 90. So it can't be more than 12. I was going to say 4.
So who said 5?
I did.
CJ gets the point. It was 7. They
Oh.
appeared in 7. Okay. So
Let's
what is it?
go.
4, 3, 2, 1. So James, you're eliminated officially.
I'll
Sorry.
wait till I do trivia again. I can't wait.
I think it's
Last
5.
questions were
I think it's
0.
I had
5,
3.
4, 3, 2, 1.
I
5,
have 1.
4.
There's no doubt in
I
my
have
mind.
3.
5, 4, 3, 1. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The last question.
Oh boy.
I'll pick whatever West picks.
Typical.
Sorry. Let me-
Easy. Easy game to win.
I'm gonna text Jake my answer.
Okay. 2 players this year on the same team recorded more sacks than an entire NFL team. If you can tell me the 2 players, so I'll make it worth 3 points. You get 1 point for every person or team you get correct. So if you get the team that recorded more sacks than, you get a point. If you get one of the players correct, you get a point. If you get the other player correct, you get another point. Okay. So, 2 players,
wait. 2 players recorded more sacks than one team.
entire team. And these 2
Okay.
players were on the same team.
So you can actually get 3 points for this.
You could get 3 points.
Not 2.
correct.
That
I
makes
lied.
things.
Still can't win. I'll go
Alright.
first.
You
Give
can go
people
first,
answers.
James.
Well, I think the team that got beat is probably the Falcons. But I'm gonna go TJ Watt. I don't know who their defensive end is, but I'm gonna say Cam Hayward instead.
Okay. CJ.
So I'm telling you the team that got beat.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go with the Jets. And I will also go with TJ Watt. And I don't know another player on the Pittsburgh defense, so I will
Nice.
pass.
I like it. All right. Wesley?
I have a feeling it's
Don't say the team I'm thinking of.
honestly, I was gonna say the Falcons.
Okay, that's fine. Say the Falcons.
And then I'm thinking TJ Watt. Honestly, James, I'm just gonna stop you.
I have to make an apology. The second player is not on the same team as the original player. So James and CJ, you can that's a different second player. That's my fault.
Well, I done looked it up. So I
Wait,
can't.
so you're saying
No, James, tell us what your guess is.
It's all right. James can't win anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah,
So,
tell us,
like,
James. What do you
two
got?
players had more sacks than
Then in this entire team, the two players are on different teams. Correct. So if you can guess another player.
If you get the second person, I'd be impressed.
I'm gonna say TJ Watt and Micah Parsons.
Okay. CJ, do you have a
The
second player you'd like
Falcons.
to guess?
Myles Garrett.
Okay. Mitchell?
TJ Watt. Seems to be a common trend. Didn't he tie the all-time sack record this year?
He did.
Okay, so TJ Watt. No, he didn't. I don't know.
He
He
did,
He tied
yes.
the record. Yes.
TJ Watt. I'll say the Jacksonville Jaguars
Okay.
is the team that was beat, and the other guy, I don't know. Nick Bosa.
Okay. So you all got 2 points. You couldn't get the third player because it was
Is it-
TJ Watt and James.
Robert Quinn.
Robert Quinn. TJ Watt had 22 and a half. Robert Quinn, 18 and a half.
Who was the team?
They was the Atlanta Falcons had the fewest sacks in football this year.
Okay.
So yeah.
And so I picked 2 out of the 3 right. Does that give me anything?
You got 2 points, but Mitch also gained 2 because he got the foul. Oh no, Mitch only got 1.
He picked
He
only
didn't
got
say
one.
the Falcons.
But you
That's
were
it.
behind by
I won.
2.
oh
Yeah,
so
one.
So
So
they
you
tied.
guys are tied.
It's a tie.
Okay. I have to come up with the tiebreaker. Give me a second.
So what we should do is you made the tiebreaker worth 3 points. That way.
Tiebreakers worth 3 points, but only Wes and Mitch are allowed to participate.
Oh, you really suck at this game. You're supposed to give everybody a fair chance. This is 2021.
All right. Whoever gets closest to this stat will win. There were a lot of crazy stats in NFL this year. One of them being that in 6 games with the Rams, Odell Beckham scored more touchdowns than he did in his entire time in the past 3 seasons with the Browns. However, what other Giants receiver, Odell Beckham being a former Giants receiver, Kenny Galladay, he scored fewer touchdowns than what number of offensive linemen? So how many offensive linemen scored more touchdowns than Kenny Galladay?
That's funny. I'll go first.
Okay, Mitchell.
2.
I'm just gonna guess your funsies after.
Yeah, that's fine. You guys can also guess.
I just gotta get closest.
You have to be closer than Mitch.
3.
3. Yep.
James,
Open the door for you,
I'd
Wes.
say 6.
CJ.
I thought it was 3, so I'm gonna go with 3.
It is 7. 7 offensive
7.
linemen had a
I would've
receiving
won.
touchdown to compare to
In
Odell
my book,
Beckham's
I
0,
tied Joe.
or Kenny Galladay 0. Kenny Galladay signed $72 million before the start of the season to be their number 1 receiver, and then he caught 0 touchdowns. That is
Yeah,
not
if
a
you
great
didn't say
rate.
2, Mitch, I was probably gonna guess like 5. So
Yeah. All right, this has been the Swing Bump Podcast. Mitch, you host trivia next week. Hope you got something better planned than I did.
Wes hosts.
West
Oh,
one.
I'm sorry. Yes, Wes won. Congratulations, Wes. You know, it's only
Also-
fitting. You won on the marriage with a great bride. Now you get to win the trivia. What, Mitchell?
I got a stat of the day.
Oh, stat of the day. Let me hear it.
In 71% of the games that the Niners have played the Cowboys in the playoffs, the winner of that game has won the Super Bowl.
Oh, interesting. That also is talking about an era where the Cowboys and Niners were the 2 best teams in football for a long, long time.
Facts don't lie.
Lying with statistics.
Hey,
Cowboys in the 70s, Niners in the 80s, Cowboys in the 90s, and then
I got something for you.
All right. What you got for me, James?
Since we've already gone this long, might as well go a little longer. A fun fact for you.
I like
Every
fun
single
facts.
time the Braves have won a World Series, you might have seen this. The quarterback for Auburn's last name was Nix. Every single time.
How many times have the Braves won the World Series?
3. There was Bo Nix this year. Lloyd Nix in 1957, and then Patrick Nix in
Nix.
1995.
Oh, sorry.
Who
was
notices
the-
these things?
If I was the Braves,
I think it's
I
pretty
would be
incredible.
finding anybody with the last name Nix and
Yeah,
being like, "Hey,
we will
have
pay you
gone
to go
Auburn?"
there.
Yeah, but except it's the next year, so you'd have to get him to commit as a high schooler.
Yeah, find a quarterback with the last name Nix
It's
in
a
high school and be like, "We will pay you."
You got to say
Go.
all 4 years too.
So
Wow.
weird though. Like Atlanta and then Auburn. Like, why,
Well, Auburn's
why-
like-
They're only
The
few
Lord
miles
works
apart
in
from each other.
mysterious
Yeah.
ways.
All right,
still
this has
incredible.
been the Swinging Bunt Podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening and or watching. Remember, if you're not watching YouTube, you can catch us there where you can see our beautiful faces and Mitch. And we love to talk to you guys. You can see our smiling faces and CJ's
For
beautiful
me
mug.
at the game on Saturday.
Yeah, look for Mitch in the game. He'll be all the way up in the top row. He'll be
The
the one
hobo.
that you can't see because he's standing behind other people. And he'll pay $200 to stand behind a 6'4" guy and just see some dude's shoulder
With no shirt on.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you next week.